Large crowds gathered in hundreds of American cities yesterday, from Minneapolis to D.C., Philadelphia, and New York, demanding justice for Renee Good. Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey says while most protests have been peaceful, those who cause damage to property or put others in danger will be arrested. U.S. President Donald Trump calls the shooting and a separate shooting in Portland that left 2 injured acts of self-defense against drivers who weaponized their vehicles to attack officers. His administration has deployed thousands of federal officers to Minnesota under a sweeping new crackdown tied in part to allegations of fraud involving Somali residents. Let's bring in political analyst Stephen Farnsworth. Mr. Farnsworth, sir, thank you very much for being here. Welcome.
Glad to be here.
So, more than 1,000 protest events planned in the U.S. over this weekend, many of which happened yesterday following the shooting death of Renee Good. Demonstrators have even gathered outside the White House demanding justice and reforms to ICE. So my question for you is, do you think the Trump administration is listening?
It doesn't seem that the Trump administration is looking at these protests as anything other than a reason to increase the efforts that ICE and other federal agencies are engaged in. You've heard since the very moments of the shooting itself a story from the Trump administration that this was justified. Before there was investigation, there was a very clear definition on the part of the Trump administration that this was justified. Over the weekend, we're also hearing from the Trump administration that there is a significant focus on ramping up military presence in these communities.
Ramping up military presence despite these protests. What do you think it's going to take to ultimately quell all of this frustration across the U.S.?
Well, I think it's important to recognize that America is very, very divided. There are people who are very supportive of the president and people who are very, very critical of the president. And those gaps don't seem likely to be worked out in the coming days. You're hearing these protests, of course, people being very angry. You're hearing that the Trump administration is increasing the law enforcement presence. And so I really do worry that we may be seeing more of the same in the days ahead.
Do you see the Trump administration doing anything to make these protesters feel heard, or do you expect that it's going to respond with more force, more ICE agents on the ground, as you alluded to?
Well, so far the answer has been that there's going to be a retention of the level of efforts by ICE and other agencies. There is the possibility, of course, as we're hearing in some places, that those resources are going to be ramping up. And so when you're looking at the possibility of de-escalation, there's nothing that's happened so far to suggest that that's in the mindset for where this administration wants to go.
What does this all say about what's happening in the U.S. right now?
Well, it speaks to a very, very divided country. You're looking at a lot of people who will look at social media that confirms what they already believe. And so there is this focus, if you will, of the people on either side really consuming the news that is reflective of where they have already started and really intensifying those levels of opposition. And so those kinds of dynamics, really putting one side against the other in this country, are a part of the social media environment today and seem likely to be more and more intensified as everybody has their camera out for every moment of these confrontations.
Yes, it is difficult to see where the end of this lies. We'll have to leave it there. Mr. Farnsworth, thank you very much for this.
Thank you.
That's Stephen Farnsworth, political analyst.